Okay, so if you look on the Facebook page, there is a photograph front and back of the seal of Benedict. That's one of the things we're going to be discussing tonight, as well as the 3 chapters that I gave you guys to discuss, or to read, excuse me. And then next week will be our final class for the summer and mid-fall. And on the 31st, I will be giving you your guys' assignment for your exam. A lot of you were wondering if the exam was going to be an oral or written during class. It's going to be an assignment that should take you a couple of weeks to complete. And then you'll go on ahead and turn it in by a certain due date. So you guys go on ahead and, as some very famous ladies once said, talk amongst yourselves. And we'll wait for Todd and Linnell. If they're not here within the next 5-10 minutes, we'll go on ahead and get started. And we'll make sure to complete in time, George, for you to get over to some work. Alright? So, yeah, see you guys soon. So, how is everybody tonight? Everybody doing well? Sammy, how was your week?
Doing very well. Found out that my apartment lease has actually auto-renewed to month.
Okay.
So yeah, so that allows me and Jonathan to find an apartment without freaking out, more or less. And I actually saved $90 this month because I apparently already saved it. So I was very happy with that.
Good. So it was a good week for you then?
Yeah, pretty good. Yes, I agree.
Wonderful. And George, how was your week?
Oh, fairly decent. Thanks to Frank for good reading. I highly recommend, if you haven't gotten a reading from him, talk to him. He's really awesome. And also, my wife's got some job opportunities we're looking to, which makes me extremely happy. And the oil making thing was a lot of fun because it just went really well. So, pretty good.
George, what's your wife's name?
Her name is Patty. She has a different last name than I do. Patty, you're going to love this. Patty Marvel. M-A-R-V-E-L. So, guess what comic book character we have on the walls in our apartment?
Marvel Comics.
And Captain Marvel.
Oh.
Miss Marvel, I was going to say, that's a comic book character name right there. Patty Marvel.
Yep.
That's fantastic.
Yes.
Well, wonderful. Glad to hear it. And Todd, how was your week?
I think I had a pretty good week. It was hectic. It was a very hectic week. Very tired, but got a lot of stuff done, and so yeah, pretty good week. I had my biopsy last Friday, so that was really strange. Not pleasant, but not really a big deal either. So I've been spending the last week recovering from it. So my incision's healing up pretty well. So now I just have to wait like 2 to 3 more weeks for some results.
Okay.
Hope you heal up fast, Todd.
Thanks, I am actually. I'm healing up really well. So, yeah, I'll barely have a scar.
Awesome.
So.
And Jesus, how was your week?
It was good. It's been really, really hectic and very busy. We have a couple of events that my wife and I are volunteering for this weekend and next weekend. So it's been kind of a mad dash to get ready for all those. So I was actually really excited by the oil project they gave us. And I put together the formulary, but unfortunately, because of the preparations and everything, I wasn't able to actually make the oil. But again, like that kind of project is exactly my cup of tea. So thanks for that.
Yeah, well,
I'm excited to hear about everybody else's projects. But good, just real busy, really hectic.
wonderful. And how's the weather been out there with you guys? I know that you're in Phoenix, right? And Denise is right above you guys in Prescott. And I see that she's gotten a lot of rain. Have you guys been affected by that rain?
Yeah. So I mean, it's officially summer again, which means it's 110, 115, that kind of thing. But bike riding weather, nothing major. But no, actually, we've been getting a lot of really great monsoons. So the last couple of days, we've had some really beautiful thunderstorms, lightning storms, some good rain. Nothing like really heavy, but nice, gentle, steady rain, which is just a gift, from above in this desert especially. But so it's been actually really, really nice lately. A little bit humid for the dry Southwest, but overall, can't complain.
Well, awesome, great, and yeah, we'll be traveling through your neck of the woods in a couple of weeks. We'll be driving on through Phoenix there. I don't know if we're driving through Phoenix, but we're definitely going to be in the Prescott area, Flagstaff.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you're in the area, hit us up, and we'll definitely have to set something up.
Absolutely. And Frank, how was your week? We didn't really get a chance. I spent all day with Roxanne and Frank, but really didn't get a chance to chat with you guys.
My week was a blur. Mostly because I broke my glasses. I had to pull out the spares. That was a little blurry. But it was good. Yeah. Kind of challenging, but it was all right. Busy.
Good. And Roxanne, how was your week? Short week.
It was a very short week. I had a good week. Staying busy. Got a lot of stuff still to do, but overall everything's good.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I loved seeing y'all's new product today on the shelf, those Oshun candle kits. If you guys don't know, Frank and Roxanne have a business called Botanica Mystica, and their products are just absolutely beautiful. And so today they just stocked the shelf with some Oshun candle kits, which come with a candle, and it has real citrine in the candle, which is beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. So let's get some of the boring stuff out of the way. I call it boring, but I know for us avid readers, it's been a lot of fun reading the Rule of Benedict. So I want to get the chapters out of the way first before we get to the fun stuff and we start geeking out over the seals and then the oils and stuff. So the first chapter that I had you guys read was chapter 7, and the chapter spoke about humility. And in the very beginning, it starts off by saying, "Whoever exalts himself will be humbled, and whoever humbles himself will be exalted." Okay, and then it goes on to say, "Every attempt we make to climb the ladder is rooted in pride," and the Psalms teach us to shun when they say, "Lord, my heart is not exalted. I haven't turned up my nose at anyone, nor have I walked in the halls of power, hoping for a position higher than my own." Why does the psalmist say he's done this? "If I didn't have a humble spirit, but were exalted instead, then you would treat me like a weaned child on its mother's lap." The very first paragraph is it contradicts what we as people want to do. We want to be successful. We want to succeed. We want to climb that ladder, right? Who here doesn't want to move up in work, or move up in their career, or move up in life? We all want to do those things. Sometimes we get posed with situations in life where we get thrown into success, or our strengths are noticed, and we're given those opportunities to move up. My interpretation here for this is to be ethical in how you move up. You have an opportunity. Let's say, for example, I'm going to use Sammy and George. Okay, Sammy and George, they are on the same level, right? And there is a position at work for them that that both of them have the opportunity to rise up in. Now, Sammy and Sammy and George, where it would get unethical is that, let's say, George starts bad-mouthing Sammy. You know, he says, no, I would never do something like that. But those things happen. You know, those things, especially when, and it happens with friends, it happens with coworkers, it happens all over the place. When one has the opportunities to succeed over another, they'll do anything they can. So, if it's meant to be, and this is what I've always said, if it's meant to be, it will be. But don't miss out on your opportunities. Don't leave it to chance. It's very good and healthy to be competitive for certain positions. How do you remain humble in situations like this when you want to succeed? Sammy, how do you remain humble in situations like that, where you're able to succeed at work?
I think I've been having that kind of situation happen actually like right now with at work. I started at Lush like a couple of months prior to one of my friends in college, and I ended up being more on and off with him, or like in terms of the company, but he stayed on like pretty much continuously. So this past year has been pretty much like the first very full year, even though I've been with the company for about 3. And kind of just realizing just kind of the reality of that. Because even though I've been with the company longer than he has, even by a matter of months, he has progressed further than I have. And I think just being able to accept that when it comes to our own positions, like, I shouldn't let my own ego get in the way. That's pretty much what I've been kind of letting myself. Every time I catch myself thinking, oh, why is he telling me what to do? Or he has like this relationship with our bosses that I don't have. I catch myself and I have to pull myself back.
There's a very good word that you said there was ego, and there's a couple of others that we have to look at too. One of them particularly is jealousy, and the other is envy. Okay? Does anybody know the difference between jealousy and envy? No? Nobody? Think about it for a second here. What does it mean to be jealous? Go ahead, Sammy. I see your mind percolating there. Give it a shot.
I guess the word covet comes to mind. I think like with envy, there's the sense of coveting, wanting something, while jealousy doesn't necessarily have that aspect.
Right. And envy is very much you want everything that person has, that they've worked for, that they've put forward in obtaining, and you want it without doing the work. Jealousy is merely just the emotion of wishing that you had it. You know, I wish that I had George's good looks. I wish that I had Sammy's wonder. George is looking around. You know, I'm jealous of Sammy's volume in his hair. You guys, look at that. Look that for me, I'm jealous. You know. But so those are the things in the differences between jealousy and envy, you know, and many times we get the two confused. Envy is the big one that we have in success, especially in a community where we're at ourselves. We see as practitioners, we see other practitioners who are rising up in their ranks, whose businesses are becoming successful. But think of all of the hard work that they have put into their practice and the establishment of, you know, maybe their clientele or their business. You know, it all comes with work. Now, the other one that Sammy mentioned was ego. And that's one that we as humans struggle with all of the time, is our ego. Oh, I'm greater than that person, you know, I'm greater than this, or I know more than he, or I know more than she. And we fight that all of the time, you know. There is a sense of healthiness in your confidence level of what you know, of what you're capable of. You know what ego is ego is inflating yourself more than what you truly are. Okay? When you're humble, you don't have to push forward these things. You don't have to say, I am the smartest at this, or I am the greatest at that, you know. And humility is also encouraging each other to do better, okay? So, Todd, what did you learn from this chapter in humility?
For me, it's paying more attention to the journey than it is what the other person has. It's for me, it's the joy of the journey. And if you focus on that and focus on your path, it's not about how high you've risen, but on your experiences and what you can give.
Good. So, chapter 7, if you read a little bit further down in the version that I have, it tells you, it says, the first step of humility requires a person to keep the fear of God always before his eyes and never forget. Now, many of us come from different walks of life, so the fear of God may not be, you know, what you're into. Perhaps maybe you have the fear of Cthulhu, right? I'm pretty scared of Cthulhu. I mean, he's a scary looking guy, you know.
I think everyone has a fear of Cthulhu that has any intelligence at all.
But this is something I really want you... What's that, Frank?
He's running for president.
But this is something I really want you guys to focus on this week, is what is your first step to humility? We all have ego. We all have something that we're trumped up about in our own selves. You're going to need to identify what is your ego based in? What is it rooted in? You know, George, just going to pick on you for a second. It could be that George says, you know, I know a lot about this particular subject. You know, Todd, it could be, you know, I know tons about these herbs. I'm a master at these herbs. For Frank and Roxanne, it could be I excel in knowledge in the orishas. We all have something that we're going to boast ourselves about, that, oh yeah, we're like top notch on this stuff here, you know. So, but where is your ego built? Think about that for a second. Where is your ego rooted? And what is the subject? And how do you begin your humility? How do you start humility? And what's the first step in humility? Just off the top of our heads, Roxanne, what would you say would be a first step to humility?
I don't know, but you're asking.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
What is the question again, Oscar? I'm not sure if I understood the question.
The question is, what would you say is the first step in humility?
I'm not sure. That's a big question. I don't know how to answer that.
Anybody? Anybody have a thought? What would be the first step in humility? Frank, go ahead.
I would say knowledge of your limitations.
Oh, very good. George?
Sorry, I was hearing guitar music. Realizing how you affect other people as well, because if your ego is too big, you're going to notice a change when you talk to people, because if you express yourself in a way that makes you, tries to puff yourself up, some people aren't going to react too well.
Jesus, what we were talking about was the first step in humility. So I'm giving everybody the opportunity to express what they feel might be the first step in humility. Sammy mentioned something just now in the group chat. Do you mind if I share, Sammy? He says, over my few days, I've started to think that the inflation of ego is rooted in the insecurity of self. It's our limitations. That's very good. Okay. Jesus, what would you think? What would you say would be a first step in humility?
Yes.
I think the big first step in recognizing humility is recognizing your own inner state, your own inner emotional state. So my grandfather would always put it in terms of, the two commandments of Jesus: love your God with all your mind, your heart, your soul, whatever God means to you. But more importantly, love your neighbor as yourself. As yourself is the important part. So humility is the recognizing of your place in the greater order. I guess that makes any sense. It's recognizing how you fit into the community, how you fit into the greater scheme of things, and recognizing that you are a small part of it. Not necessarily an insignificant part, but you have to recognize that you're only one small bit of a larger picture. So I guess humility, I think the first step would be really taking a good, long, hard look at yourself.
Bingo. And so I want to teach you guys what I was taught several years ago in remaining humble. Many of us are natural born leaders. Many of us are just destined by the stars, by whatever you want to call it, your zodiac sign or the time you were born or whatever, to succeed. And that ability of leadership, that position of leadership, that ability of succession, and the position of succession can lead to the inflation of ego. And so I was taught this one thing, okay, and that was, very simple phrase, know yourself and seek self-improvement. I want you guys to jot that down. Know yourself and seek self-improvement. Always remember this as you move forward in your own success or in your own careers, whether it be at work, it be home business, it be with relationships and teaching, all of these things. We don't know it all, okay? We never will. And there will always be somebody out there who will know more than you, okay? Who will be better than you. There will always be somebody out there who will be more experienced than you. And the same goes for that person who knows more than you. There's always somebody out there that knows more than that person. And the line just keeps going up and up and up and up. Throughout the world, there is never going to be one person who knows more than the other, and it stops. It's just like a continual cycle of people being educated in many different realms, or being successful in several different realms. And if you do this, if you utilize this line of knowing yourself and seeking self-improvement, that will keep you humble. Think about that. Knowing yourself and seeking self-improvement. George, what does that mean, do you think, knowing yourself?
Knowing your limitations, and also knowing that comparing yourself to others can also be damaging to you. I mean, if you're spending your time worrying what someone else has, more knowledge, instead of seeking that knowledge yourself and improving yourself and then helping other people, all you're going to be stuck in is a cycle where you're going to be, constantly worried about what this person has or how cool this person is. Everybody's cool in their own special way. You just have to learn to see it and expect that there's always going to be somebody, quote unquote, better than you, but that better is a matter of perspective. So.
Thank you. And Todd, seeking self-improvement, that line there, what does that mean to you?
Seeking self-improvement is, I would say, sorry, my light went out, being honest with yourself about your strengths as well as your shortcomings. Because if you're not aware of that or not acknowledging that, you can't move towards improvement. If you think you're the best thing on the planet, why are you gonna try to be even better if you've already got it all? So
exactly.
Yeah.
And thank you for sharing. One of the things I was speaking to Roxanne about earlier today was I try my hardest. Last year I wasn't able to do it, and I'm really looking forward to trying it this year. Was winter solstice for me. I love to go on a hiatus for those 90 days. I don't see clients. I try not to practice. I try not to work on any projects. What I try to do is pick a subject that I'm not familiar with, or a subject that maybe I'm not as learned in, and I immerse myself in it for those 90 days. 2 years ago, it was the Goetic seals, and I was familiar with the subject, but I couldn't tell you the names of the demons, what the seals were used for, where they originated from. And so what I did for that winter month was I studied the seals and learned about them, learned how to draw them and stuff like that. So this is something that I challenge you all to do as well, is over the next week, I really want you to think of something within your practice that you know that you're lagging in, that you're going to work on improving over the next 90 days. Okay? And this will be the time that we're on break. So, humility. Have I talked everybody's ear off about humility so far? Okay. Now, the last two chapters that I gave you were on vigils and prayers. Let's see. Frank, because I know you don't sleep very well, but on rising early for prayer, and that's what chapter 8 was about. What to you is rising early for prayer? What did you get out of this chapter?
Well, probably I need to sleep better. That's the first thing I got out of it. It's odd for me because a lot of times my rising early for prayer ends up like dropping early for prayer. It's kind of hard for me to apply this for my own life because my praying happens usually at night before I drop, which sometimes is 5 in the morning, right? But what I gathered out of this the most was that it's probably a good idea to allow a little bit of time in the morning to sort of set myself up for the day, to give thanks, and to kind of allow myself, again, a setup period for the day to get things in order for what I need to do. But a lot of times it ends up directly conflicting with what I did before the night before. So that's a slippery slope on my end right there. That was a challenge to read that chapter. I'm glad it was short.
I want you guys, you read it and you understood the context. Now here's how I would like for you to understand it. In two of the world's major religions, Islam and Judaism, they go to a scripture in the Old Testament that says, "And let these words be on your lips when you lie down, when you wake up. Put them on your doorposts." And in Judaism, it's known as the Shema. "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one." Right? And they're supposed to be the cornerstone. And in Islam, we hear it in the very early mornings, you know, Allah Akbar, you know. And most of your Christians will say that their cornerstone of their first prayers is the grace in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, right? What I want you to do is understand that you don't necessarily have to rise before the sun rises to do a beautiful liturgy of prayers and get down on your knees and grace yourself or do a couple of laps around the rosary or anything like that elaborate. All you need to do is focus on that moment that you rise. When you rise, many times we will get up. For those of us who are in the workforce, we'll wake up and our first thought is, I've got to get up, got to get dressed, got to get showered, got to get ready to get out of here and go to work and start my day. And we take no time for anything else. Rising up early for prayer is just that moment to stop and realize that there is more in the world than us. In Judaism, I was talking about the Shema. In Judaism, they say, the minute that you wake up, you recite the first words of the Shema. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad, which is, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one." From there, you have a choice. You continue into the liturgy of the Orthodox prayers, or you begin your day. The point is that when you woke up and you rose, the first things that came out of your mouth, the first thing that came out of your mind and emitted into the world was acknowledgement that there was a creator. Right? So, now the challenge for you guys is this. I'm not asking you guys to wake up at 0:30 to say prayers and liturgies, but I'm asking you guys to be more self-conscious of when you rise, to make the first words that come out of your mouth to be acknowledgement of something positive in your life. Whether you wake up like my grandfather says, "Oh, thank you, God, for allowing me to breathe this morning." Hey, you know what? At 85 years old, I'd be thankful for breathing that morning too. You know, thank you for letting me be alive. Thank you for this. What are you grateful for immediately that moment? Let the first words that fall off your tongue be positive. If you are in bed next to somebody, are you telling that person that's sleeping next to you, "Good morning, I love you. Good morning, you're beautiful. Good morning, you're handsome." You know, even if turning over and you're there by yourself in that bed and you see yourself in the mirror and you go, "Good morning, you're handsome." No, that's vanity. But do that, please. Okay, so moving forward, when you rise in the morning, be more conscious of what's coming out of your mouth. If you wake up in the morning and you're tired and you're dreary and you start off with, "Oh my God, it's Monday. God damn it." That's how your day's going to be. that's how your week's going to be. You already started it off that way. If you wake up and you're happy and you have something positive to say, you have something positive to acknowledge, guarantee you that's how your day's going to be. That's how your week's going to be. And even when those little heavy things start attacking us throughout the week, troubles, barriers, issues, stuff like that, we can address them in the same manner that we started our day off with, in a positive manner. With a clear head and with a positive attitude, we can reach solutions. Okay? So, now, an order for vigils. Who read the order of vigils portion? Frank. Actually, Sammy, what did you get from the order of vigils? How did you read that? Or what did it mean to you?
Hello?
We can hear you.
Oh, excellent. Selecting the Psalms and having this kind of order and structure to my morning was something that I kind of was struck on. I tend to be I get very anxious and paranoid, so usually any sort of prayers throughout the day usually stem from that, and the idea of just being able to just kind of select any sort of readings that could actually kind of be outside of that was something that was very important for me.
Who else had their hand up? Thank you for sharing. Jesus, please share.
So for me, the order of vigil is important because, on the surface, it talks about how a community comes together for prayer, right? And so, on the very surface level, that's really a fascinating thing just to see how community should come together to venerate. But on a personal level, it's about how to respond correctly to the community, in communal situations. It might not necessarily be in a literal place of prayer. It might be just at some social gathering or a protest or basically, any instance where the community comes together as one. It's about recognizing the needs of the community and responding in kind, applying an individual voice to a communal purpose or need. I guess that's what really spoke to me the most.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Frank, would you mind sharing your thoughts?
I think what I got out of it the most was it's probably a good idea to keep check of yourself a few times during the day with some sort of a positive uplift. And maybe even to modify the order or the even outlook or perception of the way that you keep track of that vigilance. I think that was what I got out of it the most.
Very, very good. Yes, Sammy.
One thing that, and this may be a little trivial, but the whole singing of the Psalms, has anyone actually done that? Because I know when I first read this chapter, I spent, I think, about 30, 40 minutes trying to find ways to sing the Psalms. And all I found were just these, I think for a good, half of that, I just spent listening to, these, Spanish evangelical, Pentecostal songs. So, I was just curious if anyone had actually done that.
Jesus, please.
Well, I think I'm a bit of a special case because my abuelo is a member of the penitent brothers, los penitentes, hermanos penitentes, in northern New Mexico, and so they have some really, really old, colonial Spanish traditions, and one of them is singing psalms or singing musical versions of certain biblical passages. And so, we grew up with some of that. And so, like, there's a few that I know by heart, but for the most part, like, there's some really complex stuff that they put in there. But it's an old school kind of thing. So don't be surprised if you don't find anything then, because this is like backwoods in the hills at Manos Penitentes, you know, throw another tire on the fire kind of stuff, you know.
Yeah, and coming from the Judaic background, let me share with you guys, the entire liturgy is sung in Judaism as well as in Islam. So the Psalms were written as songs. They were songs of David. That might be an avenue that you might want to research as well. Would be the Psalms in Judaism. You can get booklets that what are called transliterate, which means that they are written in the Hebrew, they're written in the English, and then they're written with English letters to be pronounced in the Hebrew. And we call that it's called davening when we bow, and the rabbis were known for singing these prayers in different pitches and tones, and it's a very beautiful thing to see. I almost started davening there for a minute, but the order of vigils. Am I okay? The order of vigils, like Frank said, it is developing a system to kind of step back and remind yourself. For those of you who are in a 9-to-5 or in the workforce where you have kind of a schedule, I would suggest to utilize your lunch break for this, in simply giving thanks for the food that you're eating. Okay? So, an order of vigils, very good interpretations all around. What I want you to get out of it mostly is to keep a schedule of reminders. Keep a schedule of reminders of sacred times for you. Do you want to observe certain times? Is Sunday your Sabbath? Is Saturday your Sabbath? Is Friday your Sabbath? Which day is your time that you observe as a sacred time? Which time are you going to observe to remind yourself of the positive things in life? Okay? So, Seal of Benedict. Let's turn to the Great Seal of that pendant that all of you have. Everybody has a pendant, correct? Okay, wonderful. So, we look at this wonderful picture. So everybody pull up their picture so you guys can follow with me. And the first image that I want you to look at is not the image with Benedict on it, but the backside with the cross and the three big letters CSPB. At the very top, we see Pax. Does anybody know what Pax means? Sammy. What does it mean? Peace. Pax is peace. And so this should be a reminder to you guys whenever you see this seal to maintain peace, to breathe. Okay? Now, as you look at it from on the right side, you'll see the letters V, R, S, N, S, M, V. Okay? And these are letters for the first words of the Latin sentence Vade retro Satana, nunquam sade mehivana. Okay? And what it means is, begone, Satan, never tempt me with your vanities. Think about that. Begone, Satan, never tempt me with your vanities. This sounds very interesting to a very common Christian prayer that said, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil, right? So I want you guys, it doesn't necessarily mean Satan, the devil, to get away from me and don't tempt me with your vanities, but it could mean the world. There are several things out there that are trying to tempt us. One thing in particular, think of this: advertisements. Advertisements tempt you to buy things, to spend money on things that you don't need, right? Or to go down certain routes that you don't need to go down. So always think of this one: begone, Satan, never tempt me with your vanities. All right. The next one, now we've gone down, so now follow me from the bottom and go up. We're going in a circle. SMQLIVB. Sunt mala quae libas ipse venena bibas. Anybody familiar with the Latin that can translate that? No? It says, what you offer me is evil. Drink the poison yourself. Anybody care to give some interpretation to that? How they could use that for themselves? George?
Well, it's a potent way to repel anything negative from your life and also to send back any negative energy that you're receiving from someone or even from some issue.
Very good. Now you see how this seal is going to begin to work for you on many different levels, right? Okay. Alright. So we have those, the outer rims. Now we come into the cross. And in the cross, starting from the top down, we have these 5 letters: C, S, S, M, L. And those letters stand for Cruz Sancrasit Mejia Lux. May the Holy Cross be my light. Anybody have a way of how they would use that? Jesus, please.
If nothing else, I mean, even if you're not necessarily of the Christian bent, it is a good reminder of fixing your gaze or your attention upon a symbol or an ideal that guides you true. So it can be your metaphorical or literal North Star.
Thank you so much. And the line that goes across completes it. NDSMD. Non draco sit mihi dux. May the dragon never be my overlord. Anybody? May the dragon never be my overlord. These two together, the light and the dragon, this is a very powerful symbol. This is a very powerful symbol of protection. Many pagans like to use the pentagram, right? And many of us in ceremonial magic and dealing with seals know that the hexagram with a circle around it is a very powerful seal of protection, right? And many of us from the Christian faith, especially the Catholic faith, when something scary happens or we want to protect ourselves, the first thing we do is we grace ourselves. We do this symbol, right? Now this symbol is something different to you. Not only does it keep you reminded that let us stay focused on the light, but also that the dragon will never dominate me. That means that I will stay myself in the light. I will stay honest. I will stay true. I will stay pure. I will stay, focused on this path. And I will not let things tempt me. I will not let the evil conquer me. I will not let my inner desires conquer me. We all have a bit of darkness inside of us, so we all have to keep them at bay. So think of this as well. Now, CSPB. CSPB means Cruz Sancti Patris Benedict. That merely is the cross of our Holy Father Benedict. Okay? So that's simply just explaining of this seal, that this is the seal of Benedict. And so on this backside now, you're able to utilize this thing for many reasons. One, to remind you of who you are, remind you of the path that you're walking, remind you, or to keep your enemies at bay and to keep you protected. All right. We have the backside, very powerful seal. Now let's go to the front side. All right. Hold on, I gotta find my notes real quick. Okay, here we go. Sorry. Okay, so if you look at Benedict there, this image of Benedict really does portray the story. Do you guys remember the story that I told you guys? And Benedict was sitting at this table, and he was about to eat, and the crow came and took the bread, and then the wine was knocked over, and the crow drank from it, and they died, proving that it was poison. Right? So if you look from the left, Ivis in obitu noroprae. Ais in obitu nostro praesentia meunquior. May we be strengthened by his presence in the hour of our death. Many of us fail to realize that every step that we walk, every minute that we breathe, we are very close to death. Death can take us at any minute, at any time. Okay? So may we be strengthened by his presence in the hour of our death. This is just a reminder that we need to be strengthened all times. Again, I'm going to read this to you, and I'd like to hear an interpretation of how you would use this. May we be strengthened by his presence in the hour of our death. Anybody, how you would use this? Give it some thought. Jesus? And then George, we'll hear from you.
Well, if nothing else, I would do is, a call to strength and encouragement and bravery in the face of adversity, or in the face of danger or challenges, or other, or even great periods of turmoil and change. It's just an invitation of strength, power, and knowledge that you're working towards the light in times of darkness.
Very good. Thank you. George, please share with us.
Well, taking it literally, if someone is ill or ready to pass on, giving them solace and giving them strength in a time when they feel weak and terrified, and helping them to feel God's presence in them if they need it at that moment.
Yeah. We have used the seal of Benedict for a very long time, and this is one of the ones that we use in giving the last rites to our family members. But also, this is a very powerful sentence that we use, as George says, to give people strength when we do cleansings, when we have to give people that extra strength that they need. The hour of death may not necessarily be the hour in which we're going to breathe our last breath. The hour of our death may be just a strong situation. We all have experienced those times where we feel like it just can't get any worse than this. This is a very powerful reminder and a very powerful way to seek that petition of giving us a little strength. Now, to finish off the rest of the seal, and so please understand that isn't two sentences on the left side of Benedict and on the right side of Benedict. That is the whole sentence. At the very bottom, under Benedict's feet, you'll see some letters, and some people will go, what do those letters and numbers mean? Okay, that simply reads in the Latin, from Holy Monte Cassino, 1880. And this specific medal that you guys possess was the medal that was formulated to commemorate the 1400th anniversary of the birth of Saint Benedict. That is what that means there. Okay, and for me, you know what that tells me is this whole front of the seal is just reminds me of my mortality. We have a beginning, which is the commemoration of the 1400th birthday of Saint Benedict, and then the remainder around it that says, "Give me strength in the hour of my death," is that we have a beginning and we will have an end. That's what the front reminds me of there. Okay, so let me just make sure that I've told you guys everything. On the... Yes, sir. George.
I'm sorry, I just was curious. I just want to make sure I got everything. The words on either side of St. Benedict in the seal. It looks like Curvis et Patris Benedicti. Is that simply a prayer, some notation about him?
On the back side, we saw on the symbol CSPB. It's just that. Yeah, yeah. The backside CSPB is the abbreviation for what you see on the front, and that is exactly that. Where are we? That is everything. So you'll see the seal in two different forms. You'll see one in the circle like the one that I gave you, and then you'll see one on a key at the very top of the key. That's the one that I have, and that's the one that you guys will be receiving shortly after your exam. So don't go out and get the seal with the key on it, because that one will be coming to you guys soon as well. Okay? So the seal of Benedict, you've been carrying around this seal. Did anybody on their own go into researching what the seal was, or what it said, or what it meant? Jesus says I did. Anybody else want to confess? Good. Who went into it blindly, not knowing what it meant? Frank and Roxanne, when you carried it with you, and Frank, I noticed that you wore it today, did you see a difference in the energies around you?
Very much so. Especially doing the readings for people. Things seem to be more balanced out. When things got really tense, like with other people, it's almost as if other people sensed a sort of a relaxation that didn't, or a sense of, it sort of calmed people down just to see it. And when describing things that were not exactly pleasant, they were able to be delivered with a much more, like, almost, shall I say, sugary coating, but not really that, just a more gentle way of delivering bad news.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I got from it.
Wonderful. Jesus, you raised your hand on doing some research on the seal. Tell me, how did that, knowing exactly what the seal meant, how did that wake things up in you, and how did you utilize the seal from then on?
Well, I guess I kind of researched it, and I kind of did, in the sense that I've actually been carrying the St. Benedict's medal since, I want to say, 2005 or so.
Mm-hmm.
It was a gift from a teacher of mine. It had accompanied her husband through Iraq too, in several tours, and so she gave it to me for protection. And so, I looked it up and everything, and it's a powerful symbol and a widely used symbol for exorcists and for those who want to defend against demons or evil spirits, or any form of negative energy or witchcraft, because like you said on the seal, it very clearly states, basically, "Get thee behind me, Satan."
Yeah.
Your shit ain't good here. Pardon my language. And so, yeah, I've carried it with me for many years, and it was a blessing and an honor to receive that from you as well. But it's always meant that for me. It's very powerful warding off of negativity, petty bad spirits, Satan, that kind of thing. That's the main thing for me. It's a very powerful protective symbol and amulet.
And thank you very much for sharing. Somebody else did some research on it. Who was that? When I gave you the seal, Sammy, when you began to understand the letters and the seal a little bit, how did that work for you? How did the seal? Go ahead, share with us.
Actually, I had researched it at the beginning of the class.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was just like, let me see more about who this saint is. And then I found out about the medal, and I read about what the translations were, and then I pretty much forgot about it until maybe like 2 days ago or so, and I already had the medal for about like a couple of days. And I actually put it on my rosary. So if I I'll grab it later. But I just put it with like the cross on my rosary and just started carrying it with me. And I just kind of left it at that. And it actually kind of, whenever I had any sort of kind of moment of kind of questioning, like where my own kind of like my head was, and trying to like kind of ground myself, I found it to be a little easier. When I was doing the Jupiter-Venus conjunction oils, I had that rosary with me and the medal with me. And there were these moments where, especially in the last 2 nights, where like I'm praying over it and I feel like there's a problem with this oil, like it's not good, like all these different doubts and kind of fears, I was able to kind of navigate myself through it.
Good. What I want to share with you guys mainly about this order and this seal and why I chose Benedict is because Benedict was a monk who walked in the world. He was very much, he was an advocate for the monastic lifestyle, and prayer and doing things the right way, but he was also very much involved in the secular world. And that is us every day. We are beings who are spiritual beings who strive to be in the light, but every day we walk in the world. And if there's one thing we know about this world, is that it is filled with just as much evil as it is light. And every step that we take in it, we are walking right next to the darkness. That's why many of you have always heard me say, may you be blessed by the light, and may you walk with knowledge in the darkness. Okay? I learned that from my many years of being out in the night scene, in the club scenes, knowing that those environments were not the best of environments, and even being a person of the light and being in those environments, always being aware of the things that were around me. Even if it's just me from here in my home during the day at 9 o'clock in the morning, walking through the inner city to my office, there's a lot of danger there. My rosary with this seal always accompanies me. Anytime I leave the house or I go out, this seal is with me. It's a symbol of protection. It's a seal of protection. Yes, Jesus is very much right. This seal has been used by exorcists for many, many years, and it's very powerful to keep away all of these evil beings and all of these evil entities. But it is also a way to keep us protected from ourselves and from other humans, and to remind us of the light within ourselves and the light within the world. So keep this seal close to you. Keep the pendant close to you, whether you wear it around your neck, whether you put it on your rosary. Linnell told me that he has it put in his dread, you know. Keep it somewhere with you. If you have your wallet with you all the time, the seal is flat. Just like my silver dimes, stick it in your wallet, which will always be in your pocket. You know, somewhere where it's always going to be with you. That way that whenever you do feel the darkness creeping by, or you do need the extra protection, you always have it there to touch it. George, you have a... Oh, okay. Yeah, so always keep it by. As a reminder, when you're at your lunch break, pull it out. Turn that into your hour of your vigils to remind you of different things. And most definitely when you're having a hard time or someone else is having a hard time, pull out that seal and utilize it to remind yourself of the strength, to give yourself strength, or to give them strength and remind them of it. Okay? So, is everyone comfortable with the seal of Benedict and using it? Alright. Let's move this sucker over to the fun part, huh? The oils, right? Okay. So how many people were able to create an oil out of the conjunction? Very good. How many people were able to collect water from the conjunction? Very good. How many people... That's okay. How many people were not able to get anything from it? No worries, because your brothers and sisters are going to share with you. Okay, so we have about half an hour left of the class, and with everybody that's here, I want to give everybody about 5 minutes to share exactly what they did and how they did it. So first I want to tell you, it's very important. From the beginning of this class, I told you to pay attention to what's going on in the sky. Okay? These celestial happenings can empower workings here on the earth. They can make your workings stronger. You can energize your oils, your powders, your crystals, whatever working. Okay? And so this was a very wonderful time. It was magical in a sense. There were people that were so very excited. Who got a chance to see it? By chance. Who got a chance to see? I didn't here in the inner city. There was too much light. It had rained. There was too many clouds in the sky, so I didn't. But just because you cannot see it doesn't mean that it isn't there and that the energies are not in the air. Okay, so they say this conjunction like this hasn't happened for over 2,000 years, and it was the one of Bethlehem. But in reality, this conjunction between Jupiter and Venus has happened in the past, just not as great as it did this time. And I believe, if I heard correctly, that there will be another conjunction similar to this in another 10 years, about the springtime, I believe. So I know Jesus said that he wasn't able to perform the task, but he was able to prepare for the task or write down what you would do. Is that correct, Jesus? Yeah. So that's good too, because when it comes around in 10 years, guess what? You'll be ready, right? So, Sammy, if you would please, I'm going to go to you first, then I'm going to move right down the line. So Sammy, share with us, what is your oil? What is it for, and what did you do?
Okie dokie. So, I'm so nervous. Alrighty. I think when I was reading about it, I think I was very conflicted. I think I even maybe 20 minutes or so before I actually decided to just sit down, commit, and just go for it. I just worked on an oil that was, I just called it salvación. That was just, I couldn't think of anything else that kind of stuck to mind. And what I did was, I took, the first thing I did was I took almond oil and just put it in a little pot. Mm-hmm. And I took 3 bay leaves, 1 for each king, and put down the first initial. And I ended up letting those kind of soak in with hyssop, lemon, sage, rose, cedar, angelica. And one of the things that I added to was red wine and salt. Because whenever we were like that book that we like grimoire that you gave us like weeks ago, the whole idea of like body and spirit in that like just really struck me, so I brought those in there. And then I also made 2 of the Solomonic seals. I think it was the 3rd pinnacle of Jupiter and the 2nd of Venus. I had written down on just like brown paper, like a brown paper bag, and let those like just simmer into the oil. And then for the entirety of that simmering, I was just praying over them. Basically, and let me see if I wrote my notes down on several pages, so just like my head, everything's a little discombobulated.
That's okay.
It was Mark 9 through 38 through 39, where it's talking about the driving out of devils. The Acts 2:38, where it's talking about baptism, talking about miracles, was basically what I was doing over the oil. And for the last 3 nights, I ended up kind of going through my Psalms of various kind of aspects of divinity. So it was kind of like protection, praise, and just kind of acknowledgement of the perseverance through kind of injustice, and just kind of lighting, like putting the oil vial in a cross of like the 4 tea lights.
Wonderful.
And just kind of praying over them.
Beautiful. And Sammy, what is the purpose of your oil?
Oh, sorry?
What is the purpose of your oil?
I saw it as this oil that I could use after I like cleanse myself, and like as a kind of like high vibrations and kind of providence. That's the word that kind of came to mind. Providence. A kind of like God's divine will being exercised. So that was I think that was the main theme and purpose of my oil.
Very good. And you named it what now?
Salvacion.
Salvacion? Salvation.
Salvation, yeah.
Salvation oil. Very nice. I love it. George, did you get an opportunity to make an oil?
Oh yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
tell us about your experience.
Sorry. I decided to make the oil using first of all, I used an app on my phone to make sure I created the oil in the hour of Jupiter on the eve of the conjunction. And then I added 5 components. First of all, I used grapeseed oil with a little bit of vitamin E to reinforce it. And then I prayed over the 5 herbs that I used. I was trying to go for something that had herbs related to the planets. So I had agrimony and dandelion root for Jupiter, angelica and thyme for Venus, and then one herb apparently common to both was sage. So I added all these together and added everything together and did some prayers. Then I took a purple candle for Jupiter's energies, being that they were the stronger at that moment, carved the symbols and the prayers into the candle, and then burned the candle on top of the jar. Interestingly enough, when the candle burned out, it completely disappeared. There was no residual wax at all. It completely burned to nothing. There was barely a wick left. And then I did some more prayers and asking the spirits, and I also put in a tiny little petition to the planets, asking them please to energize this oil that I created. And I placed it on my windowsill overnight to let it steep in the energies that were coming in, overnight for the conjunction. When I picked it up the next day, interestingly enough, some of the herbs were floating, others were not, and it seemed polarized, and there was a ton of bubbles going through the oil. And after looking at the elements of the oil and all of the herbs, I decided, I named the oil God's Hammer. Now, what I decided to use it for was a combination of uncrossing and protection. To uncross somebody as well as clearing away negative energy and also giving the protective elements of Venus to preserve somebody. So if somebody's having a problem, this could be used as an uncrossing or a defensive oil to put on yourself or on some object to make it stronger.
Did y'all hear that?
And that, yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
Oh no, that was it. That's and it's by the way, I made enough that if anybody does need any, just ask.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Todd did not get an opportunity, correct?
Yes, that's correct. I got the assignment. I formulated what I wanted to do, and got home. Things got busy and crazy. I didn't have the energy. Then this afternoon, I decided I was going to give it a crack anyway, even though the time had passed and I couldn't find it.
Okay.
So yeah, I pretty much completely dropped it. What I ended up doing was going with Venus and Jupiter. I found a formulary that somebody posted, and I went in and looked at the qualities of both Venus and Jupiter, and I came up with an oil for the recipe was for strengthening a marriage.
Wonderful, very nice.
And I can't remember all of what I chose, but I remember that there was bearberry root was in there. It was a different formulary than I normally work with, because it was astrologically based, and I haven't really done that. But they had bayberry roots and what was the other one? Catnip. And then there was a few others. I don't remember what they were. I want to say allspice or clove.
Okay.
But they were based on the astrological signs. And what I was going to do was I was going to try to find the time and check in the hour, but I never got that far. So typically, what I do when I do my oils, I don't know if anyone else does this, but I have prayer. I pray over them, but I also talk to them. each one before I use it, it's just like when I do mojo bags, is I talk to it and I kind of coax it out, kind of get that rapport, and then ask for its wisdom and its power to aid. So
very good. Well, I talk to all of my oils before I take them to the shop, and I tell them how beautiful they are, and how wonderful they are, It's what we say in Spanish, chiflando. I chifla my oils. So very good. It's not a negative that you weren't able to perform these tests, because now you have something prepared for the next time. So Jesus, similar happened to you, and Todd, thank you for sharing. Jesus, similar happened to you, so tell us what you prepared for. Oh, and excuse me, before you start, Jesus, Todd, what did you name your oil by chance?
I did not name it.
Okay, no worries. It'll give you some. Yep. It'll give you something to think about. Thank you.
Yep.
Jesus, go ahead.
So I, in a similar vein to Todd, my initial, as soon as you had posted the assignment, my first response was, oh, Jupiter or Zeus, the very strong symbol of male sexuality and kind of the masculine power, right? And Venus also is a symbol that represents really strong feminine sexuality, femininity. So immediately what occurred to me was, okay, a balance of the two, they come together on this night.
Mm-hmm.
So I came up with an oil that I called Equilibrio Perfecto, or perfect equilibrium, or perfect balance. And so I used 6 herbs, and I'm pulling them up here. So 3 for Venus and 3 for Jupiter. For Venus, I used cinnamon, cardamom, and the third one was rose. And so yeah, all very fragrant, all very pleasing. And then for Jupiter, I used sage, sage, star anise, and clove. Excuse me, 5-finger grass, cinquefoil.
Mm-hmm.
So again, not only with the sage and the star anise, very strong smelling, very pleasant. And to me, they're kind of masculine smells. But also with the 5-finger grass, that has the implication of grasping the goal that we're looking for. And so I like to include 5-finger grass in most of my oils when a definite outcome is desired, right? In this case, balance between feminine and masculine energies. So
Very nice.
my goal with the oil was, if you're having an imbalance with either your feminine or your masculine energies, or including the additional your hot and your cold energies, this helps to balance it. That can be sorry, my wife's having a party in the background.
It's okay.
That could be like if you're in a marriage where you need some balance between the sexes, it can be used there. If you're having an argument, with somebody of the opposite sex or somebody of the same sex even, but it's the result of an imbalance of those energies. That was the idea behind this oil, was to help kind of reach an equilibrium internally and externally. And then over the oil, I would pray, Second Timothy 1:7. For God has not given us a spirit of timidity, but of power and love and discipline. And so for me, that verse really speaks to, again, balancing the masculine, so power or discipline, which are traditionally kind of masculine tendencies, these healing traditions, and then the love or the timidity, which are traditionally held to be female. And then also Proverbs 11:1, a false balance is an abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight. And so again, a balance between your internal feminine and masculine or hot and cold energies is a beautiful thing, or it's a delight to the divine, to spirit. And like George, I had planned on carving the Solomonic seals of Jupiter and Venus into a candle, preferably a 2-colored candle, either pink and blue, or red and blue, or even green and blue, and building that over the oil.
Very nice. Very, very nice. So far, so good for all of you. Now, today I had an opportunity to see Frank and Roxanne's oils in person, and they were both so wonderful. Frank and Roxanne, Roxana, would you share with us, Roxana, what you did and how you put it together? And just to be mindful of time, we're at 9:46 my time, so please share with us as best as possible, being mindful of the time.
Okay. First off, I gathered all the herbs that correspond with Jupiter and Venus, as well as amethyst for Jupiter and turquoise for Venus. And because I wanted to put some stones in there as well to represent both Jupiter and Venus. I named it Venus Conjunction Jupiter Oil. And my intent with this oil was to have protection and safety and love in my marriage with this oil. For Jupiter, I used Balm of Gilead. I used honey oil. I used vanilla. And again, the amethyst. And hyssop. I also used hyssop. And then for Venus, I used five-finger grass, cinquefoil, jasmine, rose, vervain, and sandalwood. And I made this during the hour of Jupiter. Well, no, wait, I'm sorry. What hour was it?
He was on Venus.
I think it was the hour of Venus. Are you sure? It was either the hour of Venus or the hour of Jupiter. I can't remember now.
Right before midnight.
Right before midnight, whatever hour that was. And during the time frame when the actual event was happening, I took the oil once I made it outside and let it charge under the event. The next day, well, actually that night we got, we got the next morning. Next morning, we got the oil, I got my oil in, Frank did too, and that next night we set it under light and prayed for our oil to work.
Wonderful.
Basically.
And so, Frank, you came up with a different oil with different ingredients, so please tell us about yours.
Well, y'all, we're going to need at least 45 minutes for this. I went ahead and, I chose, it was a confliction for me because right off the bat we were in the day of Mars. So I decided to pull in Mars as the protector, the watery god that protects things. And of course my marriage was at mine, love was at mine, strength was at mine. So what I did was I went ahead and gathered up a list of herbs that luckily all were on hand here at the house. And I pretty much set out to create something that would sort of balance out the strength of Jupiter and the expansion of Jupiter with the power of the equalizing beauties, and bring out the beauty of things in our marriage and in life itself in general. And I tried to do this. I did this the night of the event, the night before the full moon, with the expressed intention of drawing in the Martian energy, if you will, of the day of Mars. Now, my list of herbs is going to probably put you all to sleep, so I warn you to grab a pillow now and get something soft to lay on. For Venus, I used angelica, burdock, cinquefoil, five-finger grass, honeysuckle to ensnare and catch up what's going on, jasmine, rose, vervain, copal resin macerated. I made sure to use a base of olive oil as it was corresponding with Venus. I used powdered sandalwood, a little bit of rose essential oil, and I added turquoise for the Venusian influence. For Jupiter, I decided to use Balm of Gilead. I thought about catnip, but I took that one out. I decided to use pennyroyal, hyssop, yarrow, a chip of amethyst, life everlasting, because I want this to be strong and to go the distance. I used a tiny bit of mint essential oil, spearmint, I believe, and then a little bit of vanilla oil, essential oil, and then I kind of decided to get snazzy and add a couple of drops of Cancer oil and Mars oil, which just happened to come from a local distributor called Midtown Mojo Manufacturers, whose products I love. And they also have a very nice, their essence is they're very light and mellow. And so I went ahead and put all this together in this wonderful thing here, which kind of got kind of crazy, as you can see. I went ahead and took it outside right before midnight.
During the event.
during the celestial conjunction, but also the night before the moon was full, within 24 hours. I left this bottle and her bottle in a bed of living Didney Crete in our front flower bed, which was underneath the full moon. Retrieved them the next morning about 7 o'clock after the sun had risen, but this was like basically on the north side of our house, so I didn't get blasted by any sunlight. That evening, when I got back from throwing bones all day, went outside and let it cook again under the moon. Actually, Roxana put the bottles out as soon as she got home, which was fairly early sunset, and then right before the moon was full, pulled them in, brought them in the house, and set them under lights in a set of 7 tea lights on a glass plate that had been washed in rose, orange blossom, and Florida water. Mm-hmm. And I basically just call it love's protection.
Nice.
And that's what I did.
But everyone had wonderful formulations for their oil and for their time. I loved how all of you balanced it out. So part of your assignment for this week as well will be to finalize your formula. Okay, so write it down. I'm looking forward. Please submit them via email. I'll look to have them next Friday when we start class, and so have them completed, write them out, and then I'll go on ahead and make some suggested corrections to them on how to better structure your formula. And I'm so very, very proud of all of you guys. What I did was very, very simple. Okay, I took a little bit of the Jupiter oil that I make here, and what I did with that was I made a conjunction of my own. And in February we went to Chichen Itza, and we were able to visit all of the different platforms and temples there, and we happened to bring back a stone from the platform of Venus there. So what I did was I broke that little rock down into very little pieces, and I put a piece of that platform of Venus into the Jupiter oil, and I set it outside and let it absorb. And so my big one was the water. I really wanted to collect the storm water, but I'm going to use them for the same thing. And mine has a very comical name to it. I'm calling mine Agra oil, naming it after Agra from the Dark Crystal, because she was the one, I posted it about the great conjunction, and everybody and everybody was talking about the great conjunction, But what really stuck out to me was how people were calling it the Star of Bethlehem, And so I thought about, what does that mean? And so I did prepare it in the hour of Jupiter, and then I went on ahead and cooked it a little bit. I boiled it in a little bit of water so it could everything could mix and blend together in the hour of Venus. And calling it Agra oil was just something that I thought was fun, and it was a unique name. But what this oil for me, I'm using it for, is for revelation, guidance, prophecy, and strong hope, basing it off of the Star of Bethlehem. What did the Star of Bethlehem really mean? It was revelation to the 3 wise men. It was their guidance through the desert to get to where they were needing to. It was the fulfillment of prophecy, and it provided hope to all those who saw it. So that's what my Agra oil is for. So I want to go on ahead and wrap up our class here so that we can say farewell to George and he can get to work. So everyone, wonderful class. If you would all join with me, I'm going to close us in some prayer. Okay. Blessed ancestors and wonderful spirits that surround us with positivity, with light, and with guidance, be with us this weekend. It is a celebration of independence, but let it also be a reminder of our individualism, and that we are free to make our own choices, that we are free to create as we see fit. Ancestors, great spirits, we celebrate everyone's wonderful, positive week. And we ask that you be with George and his family, his wife, Patty Marvel, that she go into these job interviews and that she conquer every single one of them, but that you would give her the one that would benefit not only her, but her household as well. We receive that blessing, we claim that blessing with power and with love. We pray for the recovery of Todd's healing. We pray that you would minimize his worry, that you would give him strength and stability in this time. He has 2 to 3 weeks awaiting these results. So we pray that these 2 to 3 weeks would go smooth, that we would remove as much worry as possible, and we pray for a positive outcome. And we pray for an outcome that would have healing. We also pray for our friends out there that could not be with us tonight. Miss Cameron, who is out there healing the world in her job as a nurse and providing to the sick and providing to those who are in need. We pray for our brother Linnell, who is out there right now uplifting another human being who is definitely in need. And we pray for our brother George, who's going to work tonight as a 911 operator, that he be of clear mind, that you give him the strength, that you give him the encouragement to continue to move forward. Great spirits, we pray all of these things, and we unify in energy and we unify in light as brothers and sisters, and may we all say, Amen.
Amen.
Alright everybody, I'll see you all next week. Wonderful class. You all have your assignments. I will post the recording as soon as I can, and I'll try to type up something to remind you guys of your assignments. Have a great 4th of July weekend, and everyone be safe.
Be safe, everybody. Love y'all. Take care.
Hey there, everybody. Much love. Happy 4th of July. Y'all be safe. Love you guys.
Take care. Be safe.
Y'all be good.